Right now, the day's biggest news stories from a Vegas perspective. This is the Vegas Take with Sharp and Shapiro.
Oh yeah, hour number 2 rolling at you. It is the Vegas Take, Sharp and Shapiro. Don't worry, coming up at the bottom of the hour, we're going to get to this feud between Tucker Carlson and Shepard Smith on Fox News. It's a good one. And we'll get the news with John Schaefer coming up here in a little bit. But have you heard of this story? We've talked a lot about, Area 51, Storm Area 51. Well, guess what? There's a Nevada sex worker. Her name is Alice Little. And she offered UFO and alien enthusiasts an out-of-this-world experience, said she was going to probably make an upwards of $600,000. She said, I've got little lights that I've got set up, so this way it's different lighting than standard. I've got some alien sound effect type music playing in the background. She is a licensed prostitute, and she works at the Moonlight Bunny Ranch near Carson City. So he said, hey, let's get Alice Little on the show. Let's ask her a little bit about this. Alice joins us right now. Thank you so much for joining us, Alice. How are you?
Thanks a lot, Alex.
I'm great. Thank you so much for having me. This is going to be a lot of fun.
Oh, I know it will be, Alice. So before we get to this alien stuff, I want to give people a little bit of background on you. At what age did you say to yourself and you decided that you wanted to be a licensed prostitute?
That was at the age of 25. Before that, I was traveling around the country as a sex educator, working with men, women, couples, just sharing different information about how to have safe threesomes, what's BDSM, how do I do these things safely. So working at the brothels ended up being a really natural transition.
Well, if you talk to a lot of the women that I've dated in the past, they would tell you I certainly need some sex education myself, but that's another story for another show. All right, so you start in your mid-20s. How long have you been doing this for?
For the past 4 years now.
Wow. Okay, so if you had to estimate, how many men do you think you've had sex with for money?
Oh, goodness. I really don't like to come up with a gross number like that because I feel like it quantifies something that's really about quality rather than quantity.
All right, that's
to
fair.
Simply state how many people you've been with, it's like I don't necessarily know if that's the best way to describe what I do or to discuss what I do.
That's fair, and I understand. I would assume and I would guess thousands, but that's just I'm just making I guess that's a gross opinion or assumption. But let me ask you this: what do you think?
It definitely is. You figure I actually only see one guest each day.
And
I only have 3 or 4 appointments each week, so way less than what you're mentally picturing.
You know what? Then I am 100% wrong. I'm glad you cleared that up. So,
by that math, assuming that every guest wasn't different all the time, it would be a max of 800. So you were wrong, Brian.
I was definitely wrong. So, Alice, what do you can you share with us the most money you've ever made for one date or one person in a day?
I can say that I have successfully booked 6 figures within a 24-hour period.
Okay, so holy cow. Okay, so let me get this right. If I want to book you for a day and I offer you $100,000 without being graphic, I mean, what do I get besides sex? What do I get in return for that? I mean, companionship, obviously.
It's so much more than just sex and companionship, too. It's an ability to learn so much more about intimacy, how you process the world around you, interactions with women. It really ends up being a very eye-opening and many times a life-changing experience for people. It's oftentimes not even about the sex. Many times it's more about overcoming loneliness, which so many Americans feel at a chronic level these days.
Yep.
So when you book $100,000 in 24 hours, what does the brothel take in from that?
So the standard contract within the Nevada brothel industry is all 50-50 contracts, so we split everything equally with the house itself.
Gotcha. Okay, well, that seems to be somewhat fair, I guess. Obviously, the brothel's making a lot of money off of you. So let me ask you this question. When you had that first if you did, had this first conversation with your family, and you explained to them, hey, this is what I want to do. I want to work at this brothel. This is what I want to do with my life. Explain to me and go back to how that first conversation was like with your family, and how did they take it?
They actually took it in stride. Previous to that, I had worked as an EMT and a jockey at the Belmont racetrack. So they were almost like, oh, thank God.
Wait, hold on a second. I'm sorry to interrupt. I have to go back to what you just said because that's fascinating. You're telling me you were a jockey at Belmont?
Yeah, I'm 4'8", 8, I'm very, very petite. I'm a tiny little thing, and I grew up riding horses, so it ended up being a natural career for me.
How long did you do that for?
Oh, just for a summer. I had a great time with it, but unfortunately, there's a lot of hazing of female jockeys on the backtrack, and I really didn't enjoy coming out of showers covered in horse poop. Like, it was really nasty stuff.
I could make a horrible comparison riding a horse and riding other things, but I would never do that on the radio. So let's move on to another subject.
No,
yeah, I would
definitely not.
Yeah, I would definitely never do that. So this is interesting. So, this Storm Area 51 comes out, and then you made some public comments that I read earlier that you wanted to spend some time with some of these UFO and alien enthusiasts. First of all, can you share with us how many, I know you don't like to say how many clients, but I would imagine you had some clients out there. How did it go?
Oh, my gosh. We had such a great time. A number of individuals decided to change their plans, and instead of traveling down to Rachel, Nevada, instead decide to visit me in Area 69 at the Bunny Ranch. I was really leaning into it and having a really fun time.
Area 69, I like that.
So you basically created an experience called Area 69.
And it's fair to say that there are
I
some...
sure did.
And so what did that experience consist of, Alice?
So I completely transformed my suite at the Bunny Ranch through a combination of lighting, mylar material, various alien probes, to create what essentially was an alien mothership upon which I was able to abduct people and perform these alien-type probing experiments.
So you probed some of your clients. I like that. So it's fair to say that some of these people, well, just about all of them, they didn't storm Area 51, but they certainly stormed Area 69. Is that a fair statement to say?
Oh, 100%. So I do have a few guests that did travel down to Area 51 and then visited me either before or after traveling down that way.
By the way, those were the guests that were out there that were smiling, that were in a really good mood, I'm sure.
And that's what I call commitment.
Yes, that is commitment. So can you share with us, you said you were looking to make upwards of $600,000. Can you share with us any financial figures?
So this year is going to be very successful for me. I'm going to book well into 7 figures worth of income. It has been a really wonderful experience in terms of just being able to meet people and allow them to explore a fantasy that so many people laugh at and stigmatize. It's really surprising, but medical fantasy, abduction fantasy, even alien fantasy is way more common than you would realize. And if you don't believe me,
no, I believe
just
you.
check Pornhub.
Yeah.
It's a whole thing.
I believe you. Trust me. I can't go on those websites on this computer because I'll be fired. But if you're just joining us, we're talking to Alice Little, former jockey, by the way, which I didn't know, turned licensed prostitute at Moonlight Bunny Ranch.
I have to be honest, that is a perfect transition.
It is. I like it. You got to ride something. Anyway, so I want to talk to you a little bit about prostitution. Now, I think we're going to agree on this one. I'm a firm believer that prostitution should be legal everywhere. Now, I don't think that prostitution should be next to a school. No, I think there needs to be some zoning rules, just like marijuana, right? But I think prostitution...
100%.
Right, because I'm sure you would agree with me, if you're on the streets doing this, it's extremely dangerous to both parties, and, it leads to other horrible things happening. In fact, there are some women, as you know, prostitutes, you get picked up by a stranger. You never know what's going to happen, right? So why is it you think that to this day and age right now that we are living in, that prostitution is not legal everywhere? Yeah, I know 45 minutes from Vegas and Pahrump, there's zones there that are legal. But first of all, I would imagine you would agree that prostitution should be legal, number one. And number two, why do you think it's not legal everywhere?
Well, it doesn't just need to be legal. It needs to be decriminalized. We need both decriminalization and legalization. We have to take away and remove all the shameful laws that are preventing any sort of regulated system from being formulated and put into place. I believe the reason why we've lost sex work as a country is because of stigma. If we go back just 30, 40 years, you will have seen brothels all across the United States. They were in Texas, they were in New York, they were everywhere. But stigma is what pushed them down and out of the way. People were so afraid of these empowered women that they had to take that power away from them, instead limit our ability to be successful to a small corner of Nevada.
So you bring a great point there. What if prostitution were legal in other states, or say 30 or 40 states? Would you keep living in Nevada? And what kind of a fee, assuming there was a yearly fee, when it's legalized, what kind of a fee would you be willing to pay to be a legal prostitute in the United States of America?
Oh, gosh. Easily $1,000 registration fee each year, just simply to be able to be a true independent contractor, being able to work in any of the 50 states that I so choose. It would look like a lot more freedom in terms of where I'm able to travel, live, and establish myself. At this point, anyone that wants to do this as a genuine career essentially has to move themselves to Nevada and make their entire life about this. That's something that I've chosen to do, and I have zero regrets with doing so. But it is unfortunate the fact that I wasn't able to do this in my home state of New York.
So you believe that if prostitution were legalized in more states, that the Nevada brothels would definitely take a hit?
Did we lose Alice? Alice, are you there?
Nope,
Okay.
still here. You just cut out for a second.
Okay. Go ahead, JD. Repeat the question.
Do you believe that if more states were to legalize prostitution in the United States, that the Nevada brothels would take a hit?
I don't think that they would take a hit so much as we would see the industry increase in overall value, much in the same way that we saw the marijuana industry become a multi-billion-dollar industry that benefits not just one state, but multiple states. Think about how many people are unable to travel either due to work, due to physical disability, mental impairment, where they're unable to reach the Nevada brothels. If we had legalization statewide, it's not that it would decrease business to Nevada, it's that it would increase the overall value of the market share. And
Sure.
I think that's a really positive thing right now,
Yeah, I
especially
agree.
as we're kind of approaching an economic downturn.
I agree with you. By the way, if you're just joining us, we're speaking with Alice Little, a licensed prostitute at the Moonlight Bunny Ranch near Carson City. She's been doing it for 4 years. Okay, so a couple more questions for you. What do you do when, let's just say hypothetically, I hate to use this term, but I'm just going to do it. A disgusting man walks into your brothel. And what I mean by disgusting, I guess to each his own. But if somebody weighs 450 pounds, they smell. They look like they haven't taken a shower in months, like me. Okay, they walk in there and, you know, obviously you can't be attracted to every single person that walks in there, and I totally understand that. But if you look at someone, I mean, has there ever been a situation in your career where you say, no, I can't do it with this guy?
You know, it really comes down to how somebody behaves. When you describe a disgusting man, I don't think of someone that's 400 pounds. I think of somebody that walks in with an entitled attitude who believes that he has the right to come in and do whatever he pleases without paying for it.
Oh.
That's what defines a disgusting man to me. I don't judge people based off their physicality. I think that that is the wrong metric to use.
Good.
I think
Yeah.
it's about how you treat somebody that really is important, and that's what I look for within my guests.
Alice,
If
why
somebody
can't...
is discourteous and rude, I'm going
Right.
to decline them services, but
Yeah.
it certainly isn't going to be based off of their weight.
Alice, why can't every woman have that attitude? I'd actually have a chance. I wish every woman thought like you. I want to ask you this, too. If a man walks in there and you learn that he is married and he hasn't told his wife that he was going in there, would you still do the deed, and would you feel a sense of guilt knowing that this man might have a family and he's hiding something from his wife and he's cheating?
It's one of those things that's a really complicated answer because every single person has their own personal reasons for coming into a brothel. At the end of the day, for many men, sex becomes a need. And when our needs go unmet, we oftentimes suffer physical and psychological difficulties. So sometimes in a relationship where sex is no longer a part of the conversation or a part of the equation, that's really the only solution that he has available to them.
Right.
I certainly would prefer someone to come to a legal brothel in which it's safe, it's legal, the lady isn't tested. He knows that he's not going to be bringing home a disease to his partner. That's a way better scenario than trying to go off and have an involved relationship behind somebody's back. If anything, it's kind of the perfect way to get that sex need met, so someone's able to return back to their relationship and fully embrace all the emotionality and the positive attributes of that relationship.
Sure. What do you make of the, I guess you could call it a cliche, or people just make assumptions about people like you, and you obviously sound like an extremely intelligent person, and I mean that sincerely. I mean, I've talked to people, that do what you do. They're certainly not as eloquent as you in stating your opinions. But what do you make of the, I guess, the cliche out there that, hey, if you're a stripper, if you're a prostitute, you must have a drug problem, you must have been molested when you were a child, something horrible must have happened to you when you were younger, you've got daddy issues. What do you say to people like that?
Oh, I just laugh and laugh and laugh and encourage them to come spend time in the space. Not even spend time with me, but simply spend a few hours within the parlor of the Moonlight Bunny Ranch having genuine conversations with the women that work there. You will find that those stereotypes are so far from the truth, it is insane. I have coworkers with master's degrees.
Wow.
I have coworkers that have successful businesses outside of the brothels. I have coworkers that are just some of the most brilliant people I have ever met in my life. And to automatically assume that just because someone chooses to enter this particular career field, it must mean something about them is ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's like saying, oh, you must have dental issues if you became a dental hygienist. Oh, you must have authoritarian issues if you became a principal at school.
Right.
Ooh, you must be into power because you became a cop.
Or all radio people are ugly. You have a face for radio. In my case, that's certainly true, but it's a stereotype that I know other people don't appreciate. But I know you weren't working when the Lamar Odom situation went down, but what have you heard about that? What do you make of that whole situation?
I honestly think he just made a really poor life decision. Unfortunately, you really can't hold the brothels liable for somebody's choice to indulge in drugs. That's something, from my understanding, that he brought into the location. And at that point, the brothel did the correct thing in seeking medical attention for him. They essentially saved his life. I mean, an overdose could kill somebody. I mean, it is what it is. Unfortunately, he decided to put himself in a really dangerous situation and go against the policies of the brothel. We maintain a drug-free environment. None of our ladies are using drugs. None of our employees are using drugs. It's a very strict policy. And so for somebody to break that policy, it's really on them.
So what's the policy for confidentiality when someone of substance, a celebrity, a politician, or something of the sort wants to utilize your services? How does that work as far as confidentiality?
It happens all the time, and no one has any idea that you were ever there. We have our own on-site accounting office. All of the billing is done discreetly. We even have a private entry for somebody where they're able to enter through the back way. So no one else is even aware they're on the property other than the lady that they're liaisoning with. It's a really beautiful system that serves those that need that heightened level of security and protection.
I don't think I'm a celebrity or big enough to be able to go in the back way in the Moonlight Bunny Ranch. But anyway, we were talking a little bit about celebrities, and I know you can't mention names, but is it fair to say in the 4 years that you have been over there that you have been with people, worldwide celebrities or A-listers? Is that fair to say? What can you shed some light on that?
Oh, absolutely so. I've worked with musicians. I've worked with politicians. I've worked with people in a whole bevy of different professional fields. Folks that you wouldn't even think of as needing companionship, but genuinely come out here seeking that connection and wanting to better themselves in their lives.
Have you ever been with Donald Trump?
No, I can safely say I have never been with Donald Trump.
Well, if Donald,
how about any former president of the United States?
I have not been with a former president of the United States. However,
yeah.
I have been with presidents of many Fortune 500 companies. You would be quite surprised.
Donald Trump walks in there. How much would it take for you to give him the full service?
You know, I don't know if I could bring myself to that. He's just done so many egregious things that I do not agree with, that I'm not sure I feel comfortable providing services to that person. That's something that's very real within our industry.
I can respect your candor there.
If someone is ever uncomfortable or doesn't want to connect with someone, we always have the option to say no or connect that person with one of our coworkers.
So Donald Trump walks in there, and look, you sound like someone that would be willing to, as long as they're nice to you, to be able to, do the deed with anyone as long as they're respectful to you, and of course the money is right. So you're telling me, again, if Donald Trump walked in, and by the way, I'm not a Donald Trump fan either, but you're telling me if Donald Trump walks in there and he wants you, he wants Alice Little, and he offers you 6 figures, what would you say to him?
Thank you, but no thank you. I'm sorry that I disagree with your policies and your behavior, and I can't be supportive of that. My thoughts come first and foremost beyond any type of income. Like, I'm not going to jeopardize my morality for $1. Like, that's just not within my character. So it could be $1 million, and I'd still say, thanks, but no thanks. I'm not interested.
Wow, you would turn down 7 figures. What is the oldest client you've ever had, and have you ever had a client fall in love with you?
Of course, course, I've had guests fall in love with me, and I've had guests in all sorts of ages, everything from 60s, 70s, even 80s years of age. Intimacy isn't a desire that fades with age. So it's unfortunately a really bad stereotype that we have in society these days, where we automatically assume that once we reach a certain age, our desire for sex and intimacy goes away.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't. It just changes. Oftentimes, guests of a certain age are interested in cuddling, communicating, talking, having an opportunity to not feel lonely, feeling left by themselves. And oftentimes that ends up being a very valuable thing for people. And it's oftentimes underestimated just how damaging loneliness can be to the psyche.
Sure. Well, Alice, I got to tell you this, and we're up against a break. First of all, thank you so much for taking some time to join us. I love talking to you. I really did. And we'd love to have you on again. I find this stuff fascinating, and you're a very intelligent, nice young lady. Thank you so much for taking some time.
It would be my pleasure.
I love it, Alice. We'd love to get you in studio sometime too, okay?
Oh, yes, we'll make it happen for sure.
Great. Thank you for your time, Alice. We appreciate it.
Hey, thanks a lot, Alice.
All right, we got to take a quick break. We'll be back right after this. We're going to do the news. A big issue brewing between Tucker Carlson and Shepard Smith. We'll get to that next. You're listening to The Vegas Take.